you've got to get more lighthearted about this. Got to get more lighthearted about life. Get curious about the next step in your life. Stop looking at everything as if it is the end of the world and everything is going to collapse. Because as long as that is what you're believing, you're generating more and more of it. I'm telling you, you are the generator for what you keep getting in your life. As Neville Goddard teaches so beautifully, you are the cause of every single thing in your life. Living with anxiety is just another day for most people who live in the United States. But let me tell you something. The Western world, Western society, has created something that the rest of the world is not experiencing. So for you to believe that your anxiety is just a normal something means that we have normalized something that is not supposed to be normal. And in times like that, then for me, I have to follow the money. Why is this even a thing? In normalizing anxiety, we've also softened what's really happening here. You're not just anxious all the time. You are living in fear. And calling it anxiety gives you an out to not have to dig deeper to get to the root of those anxieties. Aren't you even curious about the industries that might be interested in keeping you anxious? Because there is a power that lies within you that you've mostly ignored. I know you have. Because if you hadn't ignored it, you wouldn't be in anxiety. Now, how do I know that? Because I left the U.S. almost 2 years ago anxious. Listen, that pandemic sent me over. I got away from there, had the courage to look at my life and to understand that everything that was going on around me was stuff that I permitted. Oh, it's going to take some courage. You ready to get into it? I am. Let's do it. Hi, my name is Zara Green, and I'm glad you're here. Overpowering fear with love. What does that mean? Most people sit in fear. They call it anxiety. They take pills for it and they continue to do things that make them even more anxious. And I'm telling you, you are exactly where the machines need you to be. See, what I'm doing over here is I am about to change the way you view your entire world. Because you have been conditioned by your fears. Or it's written into the Diagnostic Statistical Manual now, anxiety disorder, and that is a general category that people can just be thrown in, medicated, and it's all seen as perfectly normal. Ain't nothing normal about living in anxiety. When you are in fear, you have identified with your human self. You are self-identified with those human limitations. Whenever fears show up, you have to be clear about your other side, your God side, your absolute side, because that is the power you have that will absolutely obliterate any fear. Why would a not want you to know that? In the last few videos, I spent time on why they would not want you to know your God side, which is why most people, even though they declare Christianity and God, don't know that they are operating in their human side most of the time. Now let's look at some practical ways that you can go about doing that. The first thing you want to do is get a grip. Recognize that the fear is not you, okay? For everybody who identifies with the anxieties, especially if you're going around owning it. I have anxiety disorder. It is one of the tricks that they know. If they can get you to own something, you are not likely to ever let it go. So for everybody who's ever been diagnosed with anything, if you own it, it's yours, and it's probably yours for life. And it's yours that you've taken on and to fix for the rest of your life, unless you grab a hold of the fact that it never has been yours and you're going to return that thing to sender. It ain't mine. I don't have any kind of disorders because nobody was born with a mental disorder. So if you're walking around with any kind of labels, then return them to sender and decide you will no longer identify with them. But as long as you are owning them, they have every right to hold on to you in the same ways that you are holding on to it. The reality is it can't hold you unless you agree. I've already done a video on that. So stop owning anything you do not want. Stop saying my anxiety. Decide right now that anxiety does not have you and you will not have it. So if you're not anxious, what are you? It's time to start considering all of the wonderful things that you want in life, because you will always get that which you allow in your life. If you don't want it, stop contemplating it. If you don't want it, remove yourself from it. Remove it from you. This is one layer of choosing love over fear and using love to overpower fear. You simply reject the anxiety. You simply reject the fears, because you are a ball of anxiety because you've gotten caught up in the machines. The way the whole society is set up and having everybody in this rat race was all about drumming up the fears. The trick for coming out of the matrix is to get to a space of observance so that you can be high enough away from all the stuff that is happening to be able to look down on it and see the individual machines in operation, how you've been participating in them, and remove yourself from them. If this is the first time you're hearing this, you're like, what kind of machines? What do you mean? Is this the Matrix? And what are the machines? It is basically every single thing they've constructed. This is not reason to increase your anxiety. This is reason to get courage like you've never had before, to come up out of the machines that they have created. If this is the first video you've seen in this series, then this is all sounding too complicated. There are many, many layers of foundation that have already been laid. I strongly suggest that you go back and watch from the beginning. Watch all of the videos. I've been doing them all month. It won't take you long to catch up. But to go do that first before you start trying to tackle the fears is really how you're going to muster the courage to be able to look at your life and take your power back. You see, when you put the love back on, then you and the absolute, you and God are one. And then you can start to choose love over fear. And it is a process. But when you understand the foundation, then you can start to operate in it. All right? When you change, your world changes. What's happening in your world all the time is a direct reflector of what is going on in your mind. So if you are an anxious ball all the time, then that anxious ball is the cause for what you are getting in your world all the time. I love Wayne Dyer. He was a mentor of mine, and one of the things he always said was, the things around you are waiting for you to modify internally, and then you will see some different things in your outside world. You see, you're not going to learn none of that in school, because what they needed in the United States was a bunch of followers, a bunch of workers. And so what they conditioned you for was to be exactly that. As Neville Goddard teaches so beautifully, you are the cause of every single thing in your life. You're the cause. What you see is the effect. When you understand your God side, you don't need as much courage. Honey, the courage to live in this love develops automatically. You look forward to taming the beast that is your human side. So while that may be all that you are able to do and be right now, it is not all you're capable of doing and being. You can have so much more once you become it. But there is absolutely nothing you are going to have in your external world before you become it. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. Here's my final and very important point on this. You've got to get more lighthearted about this. Got to get more lighthearted about life. Get curious about the next step in your life. Stop looking at everything as if it is the end of the world and everything is going to collapse. Because as long as that is what you're believing, you're generating more and more of it. I'm telling you, you are the generator for what you keep getting in your life. So as you approach this love thing and this human thing and this God thing and this limitations thing, as you're approaching this, do it with a level of curiosity and apply every bit of what you learn. I'm telling you, it's not going to take that long to turn this thing around. When you stop identifying with the crap you are not interested in having. They tried to normalize, didn't just try, damn it. If you walking around owning all of the labels and walking around like a ball of anxiety and rush, I'm telling you, my favorite word after moving to Central America is tranquilo. Because baby, ain't nothing that serious. Nothing. Something else you need to learn is that absolutely everything is neutral until you give it meaning. You've allowed the Western world to give you meaning to every single thing that's going on in your world. It's time for you to take your power back. And you do that through love by getting to know the real you, which is where all your power lies. You gotta get to the point that you stop identifying with your humanness in your avatar. That's why you feel like you're broken. That's why you feel like you need fixing. Because this is where your identity lies. I'm telling you, you're so much more than that. And whatever you think you gain to lose with your identity, your love and real you is just waiting to give you the life you have not even begun to dream about. So much better, healthier, so much more love, such peaceful relationships, wealthy, whatever your struggles have been. You can loose them when you get over here in love. Well, that's all I have for you right now. It's your life. Choose it just as it is. Own it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Change it. As long as you can breathe and learn, oh, honey, it can get better. From somewhere out here in these South American streets. Ciao for now.